Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I want to talk about Lady Haera, 13th daughter of Lord Helmore. She's a house agent for Necromunda. She's super cool. As you can see the picture, you kind of understand why I needed her desperately. And she is resin. So what I want to discuss is the instructions, which I'm going to have an edit that talks about the first two, because quite honestly, they were really obnoxious and the instructions are terrible. And so I made a specific part just to show how these link up. So you'll see that in just a moment. All right, after 15 minutes of fumbling, I finally figured out how this connects up. The instructions are abysmal. So it basically presses up against it like that. There is no indication on these instructions that that's how it works. It looks like it does something completely different. The next one, 3 and 4, it's a similar... that in the instructions it shows like this, and that this thing connects up, and there we have it. So that is the connection point that we're looking for the first two steps. Yep, just like that. That will create the first layers of the dress. As far as the rest is concerned, when you look at these instructions, it's pretty clear that this is not going to do you a whole lot of good. I mean, it's not awful once you get through these two parts. It kind of gets straightforward. But like these two parts here were not necessarily that easy. They did link up pretty well, and I'll show you the model in just a second. But like when you put on the swords, it just says put them on. You know, there's sections under there. It'd be kind of nice to have a little bit more of an angle to look at it while putting it on, but you know, whatever. Then you've got the servos that you put on that hold up her dress basically, and you've got some tubing that is supposed to go on there. Mine, I'm making Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever they have on Necromunda because I had no interest in trying to get these tubes on. Mostly because I already got plenty of super glue all over my hands while making this model. And I just don't want to do that again. And I'll show you the tubes in a second. You'll see it probably would cause a little bit of a mess. But then again, maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Who knows? But anyway, so that's the instructions. Again, you have the hardest time with these two parts. Everything else, for the most part, not a big deal. That's why I didn't film it all. Plus, when you're doing these resin models and you're using super glue, the super glue tends to take a few minutes to set to keep the things connected. So it'd be kind of boring and I'd have to do a lot of edits to kill that section. But anyway, so let's move on and look at the model. So here she is. And probably the craziest part about doing this model was the servo skulls. These are just awesome. They fit on very well on the front and the back. Let's get some light on here. On these two sides, they fit very well. This back one did not fit as well, and I just kind of had to wing it and decided to do it the way I did. I'm not entirely sure if I made a mistake or something, but it worked and it looks cool. So I like it. Her weapons are interesting. They're not too bent. I could technically fix that. She's on here very well. She connects via the bottom point there on each side and her little peg leg that you put on. All around, pretty neat. I don't think she'll be too difficult to paint. There's not a whole lot of details here that I'm afraid of, except for maybe the fur. So when you put this on, I will give them some credit. It ended up working out very well because on the instructions, once you get to the point that you're putting on her side coat thing with the fur around it, you've got this ribbon that goes in. Now, I followed the instructions specifically for a change, and the ribbon just went perfectly where it was supposed to, and everything lined up. It was pretty darn amazing. Now, I have heard some people talking about how they had to do this, and it ended up requiring green stuff in order to fill in gaps. Like, a good example is this part here. This is separate, and it goes up onto her little corset thing. Now, in the back of it, it does not connect up to her body. And at first I was like, man, I made another mistake, because I've already made Lady Credo, and I did make a mistake with her. But when I turned her around and I put this on, it covered up the gap. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, if you have any questions about doing this model, let me know in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. I did document it fairly well in my head, and I made some notes. So if there is something that you encounter that's a problem, I should be able to at least offer some advice about it. This sword comes really dangerously close to being at the very bottom of the base. But anyway, last thing I'll say is that I could kind of understand why people avoid resin in some regards, because combine these instructions with the fact that some of these parts are just dainty and easily would break, that sort of thing. I don't know. I think I could see people being like, heck with this. It's just too much effort. But the results are really cool, and she looks awesome. So I'm very excited about her. I'm excited about the other ones I've done as well. And I think they're going to be a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, do let me know. I couldn't find any good videos to talk about building her. Let me show you the tubes that I'm not putting on. Here they are. These go at the very end. So like this one would go from the servo and link up to the other servo. So basically, and then this one like links up from the sword to the servo, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how it would work. I guess it would go like that. It's probably supposed to connect down here, but I tilted him downward instead of back. So had I made this guy a little bit further back so that his tubing was down here, this one would have lined up perfectly. But as it stands, again, they're remote. I am saying that it is Necromunda Bluetooth, Necromunda 5G, 10G, 40kg, whatever. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. If you have any thoughts or questions, let me know. Have you built any of these resin models? What is your tips and tricks? What's your go-to video place for them? I'd love to know. I'd love to give them some love. But anyway, that's Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.